So, as you read in They Say, I Say introduction, um, we think of writing, when we are thinking about academic writing, as participating in a conversation. We are thinking about what other people have said and referring to what other people have said, and then responding to what other people have said, right? So that's where that book gets its title. They say, I say. So one of the things that we need to think about when we are bringing they say into our own academic writing is making sure that we are giving credit to the people that we are in conversation with. And I know that this is a difficult thing sometimes for students to grasp, both the why we care about it and then the how to do it. So this short video is going to address both of those things, why we care about it, and then also how we do it. So first, let's talk about the why. So why we care about giving credit and citation is kind of a big philosophical discussion, right? We could spend whole days talking about that, but I'm just going to give you a very brief statement here in this video, and then we can continue the conversation in our synchronous sessions on Fridays and in our discussion spaces on Kami and on Canvas. So the most important reasons that we care about giving credit to our sources are first, intellectual honesty. We want to make sure that we acknowledge what ideas are not ours, what ideas we learned from somewhere else, and also to highlight what ideas do belong to us. What are the new ideas or the new insights that we as writers and scholars and thinkers are bringing to the table, right? So reason number one why we care about citation is to make sure that we are indicating those two things. What are the ideas we got from somewhere else, and what ideas are new or novel or belong to us? The second reason why we care about citation is making sure that our readers can follow the same trail that we followed. Right, when you think about biology or chemistry or physics, when you think about science and experimental science, one of the things that science wants is for experiments and research to be replicable, right? So someone can repeat what the scientists did and see if they get the same result or if they get a different result. Well, a similar thing is true in research writing. We want to be able to show our readers, I read this thing, and based on my reading of this thing, I think these ideas. Okay, so we want our readers to be able to follow our trail, to be able to find the same sources that we found, to read the same ideas that we read, and so that then they can see if they agree with us or if they come down to a different choice. So let me show you how this works in a place that you might be more familiar with. Let's take a look at Twitter. Give me just a moment. Okay, so here is the New Economic School Twitter account. And you can see that these first two tweets in this feed look a little bit different. This first tweet has the Ness icon in the profile picture and the title New Economic School in the kind of bold text there. So from these signals, we can understand that the words that are typed here in the tweet, the body of the tweet, all of these words belong to the New Economic School. This is a statement that the New Economic School itself is making. So contrast that with this tweet, this next tweet. The profile picture is Vox EU, and that's what's listed here in the bold text, Vox EU, the handle that's there. So why is something from Vox EU showing up on Ness's Twitter feed? Well, Twitter helpfully gives us this metadata. It says, this thing is here because the New Economic School retweeted it. The New Economic School thought, oh, hey, this is an interesting thing. I want to share it with my students and faculty and staff, all of the people who follow the Ness Twitter account. And that way, they'll know that we think it's important, right? So Twitter and other forms of social media, if you are active on Telegram or Instagram or Facebook or Tumblr, any of those other forms of social media, the social media platform automatically adds that metadata. I'm going to go to a slightly different account to show you something else here. So here is a tweet that looks a little bit different. So Gretchen McCulloch is a linguist, she's a researcher, and this is her account, her profile picture, and her name. So these words belong to her. They're Gretchen McCulloch's new words. But she, in this tweet, she says, yes, hi, I wrote a book about this very thing. What thing is she talking about? She's talking about the ideas that are in the quote tweet that she's got there by Philip Pullman. And so she didn't have to retype that, right? All she had to do was use this retweet button and then type her own comment. And Twitter automatically does all of this metadata. It shows us who was the original author of the tweet, what were the original author's exact words, when did that original author say them, and that way, we as Gretchen McCulloch's readers on Twitter, we can follow her same path. We could, if we wanted to, we could click on this tweet and see what conversation Philip Pullman was in and what other responses he's gotten. So we can follow the path that Gretchen McCulloch followed. So that goes over the two reasons why we care about citing things. One, to separate our ideas from other people's ideas, right? Ideas that belong to other people versus the new ideas that we're bringing to the table. And the second reason why we care about citation is to allow our readers to follow the same path that we followed, right? So that they can kind of trace the research that we did. So two important reasons why. Now let's transition and talk about the how. So in this class, we are going to be using APA citation style. This is a citation style that you will probably be asked to use in some of your future coursework in your major at Ness, but it's not the only citation style. So just keep in mind that you might have been asked to use something else in the past. You might see other things differently, but the one that we're going to use now is APA, and you'll probably be asked to use it again. So it's worth getting familiar with, but not necessary to really memorize. So what I've linked for you in the semester resources module on the course Canvas site is Purdue's online writing lab. So this is the general format in Purdue's online writing lab for APA style. And over here, I'm going to click on electronic sources because I think most of the things that you will be finding for your annotated bibliography are going to be things that you're finding and reading online. But electronic sources come in a variety of media. Maybe you have something that is just a web page. So you want last name, first initial, and then you need the year and the month and the date and the title of the page, and then the larger site name. So here is an example of what that looks like. Sometimes what you're reading online, though, is an article, right? Maybe you find a scholarly journal article. Maybe you find an article from an online periodical, like Up to Date. The example that I gave you in the assignment page for the annotated bibliography is an article that is on a website, but it's an article in a web publication, right? So I gave you this article, How Biased is Your News Source, by MarketWatch. So you can see here, just like according to the model, I've got author's name and the date, and then the title, and then the web page. So we've got the author's name and the date, the title, and then the web page it came from, and then the URL. So this is the basic format for the APA citation that you'll need to include for each of the 10 sources that your group finds. At this point in our class, I don't want you to stress about getting these citations perfect. The important thing is that you've given your reader enough information to go back and find the source later. And your reader in this case is not only me. You should think of your reader as being me, your professor, but also your group members, right? Because you are working together with a group to find 10 sources. So not every person is going to look at every source. You're going to add them to the list together. So making sure that if they want to, your group mates can go and find the thing that you found. But the other part of the audience for this annotated bibliography is future you, because you're going to use the sources in this bibliography in the research summary assignments that you do next week. So you want to make sure that you've put enough information there that the reader could find that article again. And sometimes just putting the URL is not enough, right? Because sometimes URLs can change. They are an unstable piece of information. And so by giving all of this other information, the author's name, the original publication date, the title of the article, and the website, you've now given your reader two different ways to go and find the article again. They can click on the URL, and if that works, that's great. And if that doesn't work, they can use this other information to do a Google search and try to find the same information again. The last piece of your annotated bibliography assignment is for each of these APA citations that you come up with. You also need to write a few sentences about why the article is relevant to your group's interests and why your group thinks that the article is credible. So relevance has to do with how does it intersect with the question you're answering, right? Sometimes an article that you find is going to answer just a small piece of your question, or it's going to be kind of related to your question, but not exactly on your question. So think about that issue of relevance. How does this help you answer your question? And then the issue of credibility asks you to think about those things that you were thinking about in the check please activity. So think again about those sift moves. What about this article that you are looking at helps you decide that it's an article you can trust? If you have any questions about this, feel free to send me an email or talk to your group mates. They might be able to help you too, or drop by my office hours. You can find all that information on the course Canvas site.